Hey, for Saturday, October 24th, 2020. This is the Pro and Con Show, and I am your host, Michael James Ott. As always, welcome to the show. So, this is show number 11, counting down to number 1 here. So, the last show is until November 3rd for me. And meeting my own personal commitment to producing these Pro and Con shows. The purpose of the shows, of course, is hopefully through people viewing them to opening their minds and their eyes and their ears to this idea that we need to do a better job being citizens here. We need to do a better job understanding opposing viewpoints, understanding the information. I hear in the media they're talking about this term critical thinking skills. Okay, that's another way to say it. We need to be better. All of us need to be better at spending some time, and I think it comes down to spending the time. We aren't willing and haven't been willing recently to spend the time to gather the information that would help us better understand these issues and better understand opposing views on the issues, and then therefore come to some reasonable place where we all can live together. And that's very much fostered, promoted this lack of information and lack of taking the time is very much promoted by the Democrats and the Republicans. Our political parties like pushing the buttons, simplifying the arguments, and pushing our emotional buttons, and basically telling us we don't have to think. Just follow follow the herd, follow the tribe, follow the cult. Just do what the cult does. And this is, of course, causing great problems. So, citizen statesmen, we get rid of the political parties. We insert people, just normal people like you and I, into these various posts into our government. And therefore, we have way better people in the government, that great structure that we already have. So this is part 3 of a 3-part series on abortion. And this is one of the very difficult topics, admittedly very difficult topics, that we as a nation, as a society, wrestle with. Okay? And so we've talked about the fact that people basically have sex. They enjoy having sex. They're going to have sex. If you think otherwise, well, you need to think again because this is going to happen. And one of the outcomes of having sex is that women can become pregnant. They can also get, men and women can transfer sexually transmitted diseases and all kinds of other things. But one of the outcomes, certainly, of having sex can potentially be pregnancy and ultimately the birth of a child. So in the last show, we talked about the 13 reasons why women, and these are kind of, some of these are related, but the top 13 reasons why they offer why they wanted to have an abortion: financial, timing, partner concerns, focus on other children, disruptive to future plans, not prepared for parenthood, health-related issues, can't provide for the baby, which is maybe associated with financial, for example, lack of maturity and dependence, influenced by family and friends, or don't want to have a baby or give a baby up for adoption. So what I was saying in the last show is if we could step by step talk about this, see, there's one of the things we can do if we think about things and we take some time to think about them, is we can address multiple issues at one time potentially. And in the case of choice, abortion kinds of things, we, the United States of America, we really don't have that great of a track record on the health of pregnant women and the children that are born. So on a relative world scale, we're actually down that list a fair number of places as far as the health of newborn children and stuff like that. So, and we could roll this all into this comprehensive, a proposal would be to potentially roll this all into a comprehensive support system for women. So talking about prenatal care, these kinds of things. So pre-pregnancy, prenatal care, and then pregnancy care, okay, and then post-care. And also, that program then would help address these 13 issues. And by the way, the 13 reasons for an abortion, the main reasons against an abortion is, okay, it's, as I said in the first show a couple of days ago, that it's this ending of a potential human life. And, so again, depending on where you are in the spectrum, some people would argue it's the ending of a life, and other people would say it's potential life, or so on. But it's that general argument. And by the way, that argument is, someone might be able to talk for 8 hours about that particular point, and they'll talk about the fetus and the development of the fetus, and when the heart beats, and when there's fingerprints, and all these other kinds of things. But ultimately, all of it is summarized into, this is a potential human life, and you're terminating it. So the reasons against abortion, it's an emotionally traumatic thing, okay? Emotionally traumatic for the woman involved and for people around her, okay? Spouses, partners, family members. It's a very emotional, traumatic, difficult thing, okay? So one of the reasons against having an abortion is to try to mitigate or minimize some of that trauma associated with having an abortion. Of course, for some women, they would feel trauma in actually having the child because of these reasons given for why they would want to have an abortion. Another main reason against abortion is the physical harm to the woman. Okay, and there are cases where, so I mentioned in the last show that any woman, every single woman that becomes pregnant, their bodies go through tremendous changes, and those changes definitely affect their health. And it's a testament to the strength of their bodies, and in most cases, their bodies come through this, and despite the really strong changes and drains on their physical capability from developing a fetus within their bodies, they're able to come through it. Okay, but there's a whole spectrum of women, and in that spectrum of their ability to withstand the dramatic changes that occur during a pregnancy. And depending on the woman and her, her makeup, how she was born and what's happened to her up to that point, she may not be able to withstand that physical harm, or it may cause her such a physical harm that she may die, or she may be permanently maimed in some way. For example, a woman maybe she might lose her kidney function in some cases. Again, I'm not suggesting in any way a large proportion, but there's a lot of things that can happen to individual women where doctors would look at their bodies and how their bodies are functioning in pregnancy and say, this is really bad. This is what's going to happen to you. We can do these things to mitigate it, but in the end, you're going to suffer some serious consequences from this pregnancy. And then there's the ending of potential human life. And I have this chart And I want you to look at that just briefly. And again, you can freeze the video and look at it. But the reality is, and it's my understanding based on what I've read, that humans are kind of unique. We're a unique species on this planet in that when we have sex and it's not interrupted by a condom or birth control of some kind, the probability actually is quite high that especially if it's at the right time of the cycle for menstrual cycle for women, if that sex occurs at the right time, there's almost 100% fertilization of the eggs. And it varies and it depends on the man and stuff. But for the vast majority of us, there's almost 100% fertilization of the eggs. So conception occurs, when the timing is the right time of the month in the women. But this is the thing that's unique, is that a whole bunch of things happen, and many of those conceived embryos don't make it anywhere close to term. And that's what this chart shows, is that over that first, it looks like over the first 30 days-ish, over the first 30 days, with each passing day, that the probability increases that embryo is going to survive, but a lot of them fail. And that's why, for example, if someone gets pregnant, maybe there's a couple and they've been trying to get pregnant and then they do. Okay, so pregnancy test says, a positive result, they're pregnant. They don't talk about it with outside or to other people, because during those first weeks, lots of things happen and the pregnancies are lost. The fetuses are not viable. And it's actually, it looks like it's somewhere on the order of 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 make it through those first days. And that's unusual. In most other species on the planet, if once conception occurs, there's the birth of another of that species. In us, it's only like 1 in 5 or 1 in 4 that make it that early development, make it through those early development stages. And I think that's important for people to understand, that yes, so-called the simplified version is life begins at conception. Yes, but only its own viable life only occurs 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 times, and the rest of those fetuses fail for various reasons. And we have this unusual genetics, our species, and that's why there's so much variation in how we look, and skin tones and stuff like that. If you look at other species, pick one, a giraffe, and you look at giraffes, they're very similar. Okay, some of them are slightly taller, slightly shorter, stuff like that, but no way, there's not even anywhere near the variation that we humans have. And that's all built into that unusual genetic code that causes us, I guess, maybe that's one of the reasons why we have, become what we have, and control our environment and build homes and all these other things that none of the other species do, is because we go through this fairly rapid evolution, if you will. We make these changes and they happen on a regular basis. Well, one of the outcomes of that is that, again, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 conceptions, only 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 actually make it to term. Okay, and it's those the fallout rate in those first days after conception is huge. It's a big number again, as the chart said. All right, so I've been foreshadowing here the potential solution in my mind for this, but for addressing this issue on the whole as a nation, and we'll talk about that in the next show. And until then, this has been the Pro and Con Show. My name is Michael James Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.